And everything sound okay to you?
All right, welcome to the Krug Show. Dieter's in the house. We got a lot to get to tonight. Man, the 49ers got a nice win in week 1, but today they got the news that several of their players are hurt. Where does the season go from here? We will discuss it right now. Let's go. Off and running on the Krug Show Monday night, and we've got Dieter in the house after the Monday Nighter goes to the Vikings in a come-from-behind fashion. Vikings win. Caleb stinks. Oh, my gosh, Caleb Williams.
Who knew this quarterbacking thing was such a difficult thing to master? Can't wing it.
Yeah, he just can't do it. He's just not very good. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out, so get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And this 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest-growing fantasy platform in the world. It's the one-stop shop. You can get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description below. Terms and conditions do apply. I made this wager tonight. We made $161 on Sleeper. How did we do it? Well, we took J.J. McCarthy over 17.5 rush yards. That was kind of probably a gimme. You had Justin Jefferson an anytime touchdown. He scored.
Yeah.
You had J.P. Mason more than 42.5 rush yards. That was the Grant combo there. He said definitely go with that. And I said go with DeAndre Swift under 74.5 rush yards. So we turned $5 into 61. So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah. So Sleeper, big fan of Sleeper, huge fan of Sleeper. Way to go, Sleeper.
Eat it, Pig and a Pickle. Larry's got a new favorite sponsor.
Big thanks to Sleeper. Remember, use the code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms apply. Helps support the show. And also,
what Larry doesn't know is that they're taking that out of his paycheck. That the $67 is coming out of the paycheck.
Look at that. Winner. Thank you, Sleeper. And they did a very, very nice job at giving us an opportunity to make money, and we did.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's all you can ask for.
We titled this stream, Dieter, 49ers survive Seahawks, the good, the bad, and the injured. I sometimes will lead off and take it in a certain direction, but why don't you, is there a direction you want to go in? Because I know you've done your own breakdown of this thing.
Yeah.
And are seeing it differently than most. So let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, I'd love to know how I'm seeing it more differently than most. I'm not trying to fit in or anything, but I'm curious as to how most are seeing it.
Well, I mean, I saw McCaffrey Williams. Now, I didn't go through it fine-tooth comb yet. I'm still doing that later tonight. But I saw McCaffrey Williams register no sacks, no tackles, no pressures. Okay. And I saw him rushing from the inside. And there were times where he occupied guys, but other guys made plays. And so I didn't see him make a lot of plays. So I would say, if you wanted to say, well, you know what, he himself didn't make plays, but he absorbed blockers to let other guys make plays. And that's part of the role of the interior. I would say that's definitely given, so you can't give him an F. I mean, no production would be an F. All production would be an A. No production, but with contributing, I think could be a C. So I would say that's probably where, if you saw no production, but then you grinded the tape and found where he absorbed a blocker here, he commanded a double team there, he, did this or whatever, I think you could work it up to a C, but I was told that you actually have a higher grade than that.
Yeah, I have a B-, which is so very different than C, Larry. he got a lot of double teams in this game, and he did a good job against them. And Robert Salah clearly really trusts this kid because he was playing him a lot. He played him on 75% of the defensive snaps, which is right up there with damn near anybody on the defensive line. I mean, I think he played as much as Bosa. I mean, that's an ascertainable fact that I should have had ready to go, but here we go. He was on there a lot. And the fact of the matter is that this is a guy that Robert Salah wants to use as a chess piece in his defense. And this Robert Salah defense looks a hell of a lot different. Okay, here we go. Nick Bosa, 46 snaps. Michael Williams, just under him at 39. I mean, he was the third most snapped player in the front six, really, in this day and age. That's not to say that, just snaps equals success, but I thought I saw some really good reps out of him on the strong side. I thought that he did a serviceable job on the interior. He did get stranded out there because Minnesota, Sam Darnold on the brain, because the Seahawks went and hurried up when they saw Yetur Gross-Matos. I mean, it was circumstantial too with time, but Yetur Gross-Matos and Michael Williams got put out there as defensive tackles, and the Seahawks were hurried up. So Michael Williams was out there as a defensive tackle again and again and again and again. And he did a serviceable job in that role, especially on, passing downs. He looked pretty good. Running downs, he was actually better than I thought he would be on the interior. He was really solid on running downs on the on a strong side. And I will say that I thought Sam Aquanu, who was limited in his snap count, did a nicer job in 15 snaps than Mike Hell did. There was certainly more flash when you force a fumble. I mean, it's impossible to say that you don't have more flash than Mike Hell. And I'll say that Gray Zabel got him a couple of times, but I thought Gray Zabel had an A+ game. I thought Gray Zabel was the best player on the Seahawks yesterday. He was fantastic. There were 3 really bad reps. There were 2 really, really good reps. And I got to read into the fact that Robert Salah is not only using him inside, outside, he's dropping him into coverage repeatedly. So I'm sure we have some tape here that's going to, say that Michael Williams sucks or something. But here we go.
Well, I mean, if you can produce some tape, I'd love to see it. This is what I saw today, and I saw, of course, the game as well. And I mean, that right there is a good rep. He armed the guy, waltzed him into the. I'm not one of these football novices that need to see this guy dance in the backfield with all kinds of sack production to say, oh, he had a good game. I can see nuance in film as well as anybody, but I don't think you can give a guy a B anything with no tackles, no deflections, no sacks, no pressures, no hurries. Because then what would you give him if he got a sack and a couple hurries and 4 or 5 tackles? I think that just that alone, if you play that many snaps, I just think there's got to be some production to get in the B range. That's all I'm saying. I think it's probably more like a C, but whatever. I mean, you spent more time on this, I'm guarantee you, because I didn't.
Yeah, I've watched all of these reps 4 times now. I mean, listen, you can all say that I'm holding on to my priors or whatever. You all can have it. I thought he had a good game. You've shown 2 of the bad reps.
Well,
wasn't great.
If you have any other tape, let me see it. I'd love to see it.
I'm not going to pop it up. I mean, I got a whole screen full of the tape right here. I mean, you got the access to the same tape I do. Everyone else has the same access to the same tape. People can feel free to judge it no matter what. Here's my expectation on the matter. I think that Robert Salah is going to be very encouraged by what he saw in this game from Michael Williams. And I know that a lot of people start with PFF grades. I don't look at them because I have access to the All-22 and I can make my own determinations on things. And so I don't know what that number is. I've heard through the grapevine that it was poor. Okay.
But
that's fine.
You're not claiming they're biased, are you?
No, I think that they have a different methodology for looking at the game of football than I do.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's fair. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I just think that you're the 11th.
I think he did his job on about 9 out of every 10 reps.
You're the 11th pick in the draft. I think there's reasonable expectation that you're going to make an impact. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he did. You're saying he did make an impact, but here's the thing. Could you get, so if you're talking about this in a vacuum, if you took this as a season, so theoretically you could go through an entire season, not have any sacks tackles, pressures, or hurries, and you could wind up being a B minus grade for the season. See, that's where that part is the part where you lose me, because like, come on, right? You got to make some tackles. You got to make some I mean, right? There has to be some. I agree with you as an interior rusher. You're part of a bigger unit, and it's about, I mean, heck, they took a team that was rushing for 5 yards a carry and they ran for 3 point something a carry. So on some level, the 49ers did a nice job defensively. And since he was inside on a lot of those snaps, I don't doubt that he, had an impact on some of this stuff. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you gave him a B minus, but he didn't have a tackle, a sack, a hurry, or a pressure, well, couldn't you give him then a B minus for the year, and he could still have every game could be like this game? And I just don't know. So that's where I would be like, well, wait a second. I need to see more. You know what I mean? I need to see some more production to give him that B range. A C though is a different range, right? That's like, hey man, right in between. And it's like, yeah, you didn't produce, but you know what? The team really benefited from your production.
All right. If you want to talk about production on the matter, fine. I mean, I can't dispute with what the official box score says. No, I mean, you want to have the conversation. Let's have the conversation. Yeah,
I mean, what do you think about production?
I think that production is oftentimes a flawed output. I think that Leonard Floyd had a horrendous season last year, but if you just looked at the box score, you'd think that he had a good one. And I think that defensive line play more than perhaps any other position. Maybe, that's not fair. Cornerback is sometimes completely misjudged. I think defensive line play is far too often boiled down to, just how many sacks did you have? And meanwhile, you get home cooking on sacks and all this stuff. You can't argue with the tackles, though he was in the pile. If he was at home and they had some home cooking, he could have gotten 3 on like 6 halves. And in general, here's where the C, because it was absolutely, I don't disagree with the assessment that there's a C level to all of this. But the chess piece aspect of this is huge. Like the ability to do all of the things that he was asked to do in a single game stands out to me. And I highly recommend.
Somebody's got to do those things. I mean, that's the other thing.
Correct.
Of this, is that
no one else
can't.
No one else
got to work as a team. Somebody's got to take on the offensive linemen so that they don't climb to the second level. So if D Winters had a big game, that could be on D Winters, but that could very much be on the guys in front of him that kept bodies off of D Winters.
And particularly too, when you think about how much better the game got defensively in, I would say, middle of the second quarter onwards, particularly in stopping the run. I think Michael consistently taking on double teams, consistently putting himself into the line of fire, and playing from a more inside technique, right? Everyone thinks wide 9. Well, that's for the weak side. He's lining up at 4-eye pretty much snap after snap. I mean, even when he's at guard, well, it's not nose guard, tackle.
That's where he's experienced. That's where he has his experience, really. I mean, go watch his Georgia tape. He played a ton of 4-eye.
But then when Salah did some really awesome stuff in this game, which is very un-Robert Salah. I mean, even going back to the Jets days, I mean, they played a bunch of cover 1 robber out of 5 and 6 man fronts where Michael Williams is one-on-one in coverage with Arroyo, who is supposed to be very difficult to defend, except there's Michael Williams going stride for stride with him into the flat. Like, that's an impressive rep for me. It will never show up. It won't be production, but you can tell that's Sam Darnold's first read on the play. You have a lot of cover 1 man situations. He's in man. I mean, he dropped into covers 3 times in this game. It was impressive watching him do that. And then also, listen, and I'm not going to dispute the fact that Gray Zabel got him 3 times without question. You could probably argue 4 or 5. Gray Zabel, you get a couple one-on-ones. He didn't win. Gray Zabel beat him. Maybe I'm grading on the curve because I thought Gray Zabel was awesome in this game, and I have a feeling at the end of the season we're going to be talking about Gray Zabel in exalted terms, which, again, if Michael Williams does what he does in this game in perpetuity, we will not be talking about him in exalted terms. But I was very encouraged by the level of trust and the complexity of what Robert Salah threw on him in his very first NFL game, when you would want to try to be keeping stuff simple. And I thought he did a good job of insulating Stout so that they didn't have to play a base 4-3 anymore, and he could hold that down. I thought he did a nice job rushing on the inside. And I think a lot of the bad grade comes from the fact that he unquestionably got tired as the game went along because he's playing a shit ton of snaps. And they put him in hurry up at tackle. And he got in double teamed again and again and again. And it did not look great. And then the fact that, he didn't have those pressures, but he collapsed the pocket a couple times. I don't know when that qualifies as a pressure, but he collapsed the pocket a couple times and made Sam Darnold's life a little bit more uneasy to live. And by the way, Nick Bosa was doing the same on the opposite end. Nick Bosa, who I think most people would argue had a pretty quiet game in this, was, I thought, immense. I thought he had an A game in this when you watch back the tape. Obviously, you get paid to close, which is what he did. And he had a couple of really nice plays in between. But you would think, he's kind of being quiet. There's not a lot going on. They really did not test this 49ers defense at all. And they were trying to get the ball out of Sam Darnold's hand fast. And I thought Bosa and Williams were a really wonderful tandem together. Shouts to Sam Aquanu, who when he came in for those limited snaps really made an impact. But when you're talking about the defensive tackle situation on this team, he was the second best one. I mean, it was Kalia Davis and Michael Williams. That tells me something. So maybe I'm grading on the curve to get to a B-, but I thought the complexity of what he was asked to do was above and beyond what you would ever have expected from a rookie coming into his first NFL game. And we're going to everyone's going to view him on the lens of, he's just, a defensive end, sacks. Clearly, that's not how Robert Saleh wants to use him. Maybe that's a detriment to him. I don't know. Maybe that's because Robert Saleh doesn't trust him to get to the quarterback. I don't know. I'm going to talk to him about it on Thursday. But I thought that the complexity of what they asked him to do was really eye-opening. And if we have a C on production, which, everyone can judge that in their own way. If you're just going off the box score, it's an F. If you're just going off the tape, it's better than that. Adding in the complexity of all of it, I'll grade on the curve a little bit to get to a gaudy B-, which I guess I should hold in high esteem, seeing as that's pretty much all I got in college.
Well, no, it's I just haven't seen anybody else give him that kind of grade. Now, what about Collins and Stout and Bethune? Yeah. They were the only three 49er defenders that PFF gave lower grades than Mikel. Did you see special in them as well?
I think that Stout has a chance to be really. I love Stout's temperament in this game, and I liked how he improved as the game went along. Obviously, they did a better job of kind of keeping him entirely out of the fray, maybe diffusing a little bit of the attention that he was getting from Seattle because they just went after him again and again and again. And I gave him a C-, and that's on the basis of I can work with that fieriness. Like I can work with that energy that he has. The one great play that he had in the game was that pass deflection on the pass to the sideline. That was a hurry-up situation where they just dropped into cover 4, and he was effectively the Sam linebacker, but he made a really nice play on the ball. And I thought he did a better job in fighting through blocks as the game went along. I was encouraged by Upton Stout's fight because he had every reason to give up on that game, given the way that he was getting his ass kicked. And I'll always question someone who weighs that little in the run game, but I thought it was encouraging from an emotional standpoint, and I think that that's what they'll take away from this game. Like, he got the business, but you can work with that moving forward, and it's up to him to ultimately make the plays, but you have to have that temperament to be successful in the NFL, and he absolutely has it. He absolutely has that hard-headedness that's necessary to play defense. Collins was a tough watch. Luckily, there wasn't that much to watch. He
only played 9 snaps.
Yeah, and there was one good one, and good's a stretch. He went for a lot of rides in those 9. He tried a spin move, which I'm not sure what the hell that was about. And he at one point got flipped up and down like he was doing indoor skydiving. So that was a very rough one. He doesn't know what he's doing out there, and he plays too high. And I really like the interior of this Seahawks offensive line. I thought that Bradford and Zabel and I forget the center's name, the other North Dakota State guy, Sundell, had really good games and are really solid moving forward. They got questions at tackle, but I think that those guys are going to be in good stead as the season goes along. Collins didn't stand a chance against him. West was pretty meh. He had a nice rep on you might remember the green breakup on JSN down the sideline. He had a really nice rep there and got into Darnold's face a little bit, but otherwise he kind of looked overmatched. And rounding out the rookies was Seagull, who you want to talk about someone who deserves an A. Undeniable, because you saw what he did in the run game just on the broadcast. You put on the all 22. Wow. I mean, Robert Salah is putting him everywhere. He's just doing stuff with Seagull. That's his favorite toy. And Seagull's special. He's a special football player. And if this is the baseline, holy crap. I mean, where we go from here is stratospheric.
I thought Seagull looked pretty good. He had 6 tackles. He had the fumble recovery, but it's not even that. It's like he knows where, he's a very aggressive player. He's got a good sense of where to where the flow is going. He's a heady player. He's a hustle player. He's a really solid player. I thought Upton's stat was terrific. I really did.
Really?
21 coverage snaps. He had by far the toughest job of anybody. He's a 5'8" corner who's being asked to play in the box against a Seattle team that had tremendous momentum running it in the preseason, has big, powerful backs. And I thought he was solid. I mean, 5 targets, he allowed 3 catches, but his body placement was there. He had a PBU on a hustle play. He forced an incompletion. He didn't give up any touchdowns. He only gave up 32 yards. And I thought he had the toughest draw of anybody. He had Cooper Kupp in his first start, and then anytime JSN was going to be in the slot, he was going to get him there. And then he had to stand in against the run. So I thought he played really, really good football. And I know everybody thinks of he grabbed the arm of Cooper Kupp, and he's got to show more poise on that. But I didn't think that was a catchable ball. I thought that ball was 8-9 yards. It seemed like beyond the pylon. It didn't seem like it was a catchable ball. I don't know. Even if Cooper Kupp had been standing in the absolute corner of the end zone, he would have had to jump 45 inches in the air just to get a hand on that thing. I don't know. I mean, that to me seemed to be. I mean, rookies don't get that call, but that seemed like an uncatchable ball.
No, and listen, that's going to happen. They spent the entire first half trying to make his life a living hell, and especially in the run game, they did. I mean, he might have Utz's 40 embedded on his chest at the end of this game, man. He got, I mean, Kupp and Utz just gave him the business in the run game. It's to be expected with his weight. Okay. I mean, if we're grading on the curve, because how could you expect a 170-pound guy to stand up to that? Then fair enough. That is what you should expect. The fight that he showed was really stood out, and the fact that he didn't get discouraged when he was clearly the whipping boy of the game for the first 2 quarters was positive. And there's no question he had a really tough draw of it, and I thought he had a pretty tough game overall, but he was mentally tough at the same time. You can work with this. You can work with this as a baseline. It's a tape that you hope you never repeat, but as a baseline for what kind of stuff you have between the ears, I think it's a very encouraging first step.
Okay, special teams. We have people in here saying, talk special teams.
I'll talk it.
What has happened? What has happened where the 49ers, it doesn't matter who the special teams coach is, they cannot get good play out of special teams. We weren't even 5 minutes into that game, and special teams already made a penalty and backed up the 49ers on their own 5-yard line. The first 2 special teams plays resulted in special teams penalties against the Niners. The return man fumbled and recovered his fumble. The kicker missed another gimme kick. There's nothing good about the 49ers special teams. And we were told that it was going to be a totally different deal from Hightower to Schneider to Brant Boyer. And it's not a totally different deal. In fact, it's the exact same deal. And it's literally the exact same. And I'd love to say Brant Boyer's a good special team coach, but there's no evidence of that right now. And I can't watch this anymore. I mean, this is just, I cannot watch bad special teams losing every single week. And then yesterday, Kyle's like, is Jake Moody going to be the kicker this week? Yes, he is. And then this week, and then today, one day later, he's like, they're doing their due diligence. They're talking to everybody. They're considering all options.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Moody, if Jake didn't notice the pivot there, he should have. And get ready to be cut, because he's going to be cut. There's no way Jake Moody is going to be the kicker in New Orleans, right? Tell me that's not going to happen.
No, that would be the logical stance. He shouldn't have made it into the season. I mean,
why did he? And here's the other thing. I got to throw this out. And I love John Lynch, and I don't want to battle John Lynch. That's for damn sure.
I'll battle John Lynch.
Well, I know you will, and that's why I'll bring it up. And I don't want to battle John Lynch, but I got to push back the way he keeps pushing back on guys like myself who are saying that was not a competition. He's like, oh, this is a competition. This was a competition. But you know what? The competition portion that I saw, the guy who lost won. So that's why I'm a little skeptical about the legitimacy of the competition, because the portion that I saw, the guy who lost actually won. So I don't know what to say about it other than that. What is going wrong with the 49ers special teams? Is it Shanahan? Is it the way they practice? Is it how much money they spend? Is it I don't know what the deal is, but I absolutely I don't know what to say about it anymore.
That's an incredible graphic. They have shitty players.
Look at that. Expected points on special teams. That is just unbelievable. Look at that.
That's next level. That's really good.
That really illustrates the ineptitude. So what is going on? Is this something that is bigger than Brant Boyer? Is it bigger than, is it something about how the Niners practice special teams, or how, I've heard people allude to Shanahan's attitude about special teams, but come on, this can't be about that, can it?
No, well,
what is this about?
Well, it's all of the above. Listen, I don't know if Brant Boyer's good or not, but I'll tell you this, they're trying something. They're actually practicing it for the first time that I've ever noticed. So that feels like a positive development. And we talked about it in the preseason. It was interesting to watch. It was interesting to watch some practice special teams for the first time ever. I was learning all new things about football, watching special teams get practiced. But think about this. It really does come down to, do you have good football players? In this 49ers roster, which, it's not personally, I get it. I get it. No one wants to hear this shit in the preseason. But you looked at this roster and you're like, okay, you like the top end guys, and you can imagine a world where these rookies are going to be something. But this is stars and scrubs to the nth degree. And that's who you have to fill out your special teams with. That's you actually have to make something out of the guys that are left on the roster. And for all of the free agent benefit that Brant Boyer got and getting to sign a couple of guys, right? The only guys that really got signed, he really didn't have all that much say in the final roster. Ultimately, it came down to,
we're getting you might need to pop out and come back in, because you got really reverby, and we were getting only every fifth word.
Well, that's
for the last
most of the time what people seconds. Want. Okay.
Maybe
I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, pop out and pop back in. I'll put some of these supers up, and we'll hit a couple supers while Dieter resets. That happens sometimes. The hot weather and streaming and that kind of thing. It happens from time to time. Not a lot, but a little bit. So we'll hopefully get Dieter back in here in just a second. As you can tell, I love streaming with Dieter. We've moved our streams from Thursday to Monday, just because of Dieter's schedule. But I'm really fired up to have Dieter streaming with us every week. I think he's one of the best covering the Niners, and he's, we don't agree on everything, that's for sure, but that's what makes it interesting. Lander Film says, are we going to see 21 personnel once Brian Robinson gets more acquainted with the playbook? Did you see any 21 personnel in practices? Yeah, we definitely have. We've definitely seen 21 personnel in practices. King Linner says if Brock sits this week and the O-line plays like how they did yesterday, we could see an Adrian Martinez legacy game. I know that's really true too. And then Shanahan was asked about Adrian Martinez. Hey, are you going to have to go get another quarterback if because Adrian Martinez is not very experienced? And he's like, I like Adrian Martinez and I like what he brings. And I'll say this: I mean, Adrian Martinez. Some of these guys who are backup quarterbacks haven't played since college or haven't played in a long time. Adrian Martinez played a couple weeks ago and was the MVP of the UFL championship game. Dieter, you're back.
We'll see. We'll see if I'm back. Who's to say?
King Linner says, if Brock sits this week and the O-line plays like they did yesterday, we could see an Adrian Martinez legacy game.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But before we got cut off, you were mid-thought.
It really just does come down to who the guys on the roster are. And it's no question that it's a John and Kyle decision to have kept Jake Moody. Like, you see Brant Boyer's general energy towards the kid. It's not ideal. He was able
He's losing support from everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, listen, at a certain point, this has to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But I would have thought that it was the last preseason game. But apparently, coming off of one of the greatest kicking games anyone had ever seen, which, man, you could have confused me. Apparently, they were on the Michael Williams grading scale for that game against the Raiders. It's laughable. It's an ego thing from Shanahan and Lynch. They don't want to admit they were wrong. They think they'll look like assholes if they cut their kicker that they took in the third round before his rookie contract is up, without recognizing the fact that they already look like assholes for picking that kid. And it's for his own sake. They just need to move on, because he's never going to be the kicker that anyone ever thought he was going to be himself, John, Kyle, whomever. He'll never be that guy here. He'll never be that. He is a wreck. They kept cutting to his face on the Fox broadcast, and it's like, this dude is spinning. He is on tilt, and he cannot possibly, there is no circumstance where it would, let's talk about fairness. It wouldn't be fair to him, a 25-year-old who's trying to make a career out of this. It wouldn't be fair to him to have him kick at home against Arizona. So you might as well get it over with and cut him now and figure out what the hell you got going on going into New Orleans. It's a sham. I'm not going to fully indict Brant Boyer for a bad special teams game because, okay, let's think about the other bad special teams play. Like, I don't think that was his kicker. Maybe I'm giving him too much benefit of the doubt here, but I don't think that was his kicker. And I don't think that he had any desire to have Matt Hennessy on the team, right? Like, Matt Hennessy is, because when they had to cut down to 53, Chris Forrester's like, I need 10. And he kept Hennessy, who had arguably the worst preseason of any 49er on the 90-man roster. He was awful the entire preseason, but because Forrester couldn't make a call on any of his backups, he's like, let's just keep Hennessy and ride it forward. Okay, well, then Hennessy gets absolutely trucked, and the field goal gets blocked. I mean, is that anybody on special teams' fault besides Matt Hennessy? No. That's just a player who can't make a play being put in a situation where he can screw things up. Is Sky Moore? I mean, and again, not to exonerate Brant Boyer for taking Junior Bergen, but I don't think Sky Moore was his first choice either. And so now here's Sky Moore, because actually we need someone who can play wide receiver. We don't get you don't have now the opportunity to use a guy as just a punt returner. We need an actual wide receiver because we're so injured. And this is the way that it goes. It's the NFL. It was always a bit fanciful to just have somebody on the team who's a returner only. But, man, they don't have good enough football players to fill out the special teams. That's what I think it is.
I mean, the kicker's not his guy, but, it's just the whole thing. I mean,
Thomas Morstead was banging him. Yeah. That's his guy. Weeks had every snap was perfect. Those are his guys. I'm not saying that everybody doesn't now get his touch, but that 53-man roster did not give a tremendous amount of consideration outside of Saran Neal to special teams, right? They went with depth or the set, the
I don't know, man. They made
depth.
Nick Martin inactive to make Curtis Robinson active. Isn't that choosing a special teamer right there?
Okay,
I mean, Curtis Robinson is a very good special teamer. You have Luke Gifford, right? Most teams,
that's fair.
Most
but
teams
the
probably
53
would have gone with the linebacker.
But the 53, I mean, in some of these spots, I mean, and the other thing too is, I mean, they had to fundamentally change the lineup that they had on field goal kicks from where they were at in the preseason to then in week 1 because of the roster cut down. So, and then that rears its ugly head. Like Hennessy wasn't in there, to my recollection, in the preseason.
Why did the Niners go with 10 offensive linemen? To me, it's like once McCaffrey was like kind of iffy, and you had all these injuries at running back, go find another running back. Yeah. I would have taken the guy Martinez from Miami off of Seattle immediately and just said, hey, you know what? We'll stash him on the regular roster and go with 9 offensive linemen instead of 10. Yeah. You don't need Spencer Burford and Pleasance and Hennessy and Nugent on the practice squad. You have Nugent on the practice squad. Right. You're never going to take Brendel out. The one thing you can say about Brendel, whatever you want to say about him, he's pretty durable. He doesn't ever go down. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
I mean, he does on the field, but not injury-wise.
Yeah, he seemingly plays all the snaps.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and he's the one sliding protections. They value that at a very high level, which gives him. You want to talk about grading on the curve? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, we've been gaslit or told that he's great, and yet PFF's like, he's not great. But I mean, PFF doesn't see it. Not everybody sees it the same way. So I mean, there's different and some of these PFF grades, it's like you don't know exactly what they're coaching, and so it's like it's a little bit of a guesswork on their. Neither do we. But they're not even considering that possibility, right? It's a very binary, like good play, bad play, and let's add them all up. So it's obviously a lot more nuanced than that. I think PFF does good work in a lot of ways, but I take all their grades with a big grain of salt to the point where I just don't even look at them until after I've watched the All 22 because it anchors you mentally, because there's a lot of times where you're like, how the fuck did this guy get a 75? And then on the flip side, it's like 51. Like, what are we talking about? Like, especially on the lines, I always felt like they were pretty rude. Maybe this is the old lineman in me talking. If you give up a sack, you're not going to have a good grade. If you get a sack, you're going to have a good grade.
Right.
They do jump you or drop you based on what they view as impact type plays.
But like a strong side defensive lineman who's lined up at 4-eye repeatedly so that you can do cool stuff off the other side. Like, that's a lot different than just saying to Nick Bosa's go get quarterback. And it's a lot different than someone, like outside linebackers in a three-man front and what they're able to do. So it is merely to say that, we're around this team on a daily basis. I think we have a pretty good read on what it is they're trying to do, though Robert Salah is really mixing it up to the point where I might have to reevaluate in a positive way what it is Robert Salah is trying to do on defense, because he was getting funky with it, like really impressively in that contest. But when it comes to special teams, it's always going to come down to the Joes. You can't X's and O's your way out of a special teams hole. It comes down to, do you have a good bottom of your roster in which to play in special teams? And this team doesn't. It straight up doesn't. It barely has a middle. So how could it have a good bottom? And I'm not saying that Brant Boyer shouldn't elevate those guys, and pardon the pun from earlier, but shouldn't be having these guys play at a higher level. Those 2 flags on the first 2 punts are not excusable, but he does have a pretty stacked deck against him, all things considered. And the energy when you just trot Moody out there. I mean, the 49ers were down 3, had the ball on the Seattle 12, and had a 4th and 2, and they decided to go for it. So that's bad. That's some, oh no, we lost our kicker on the kickoff in a Big 12 game. We might as well do this.
No, I mean, it's like people asking Shanahan today if he's where they are in the kicker decision.
He told you.
He told you right there. On the 4th and 2, when he didn't go for the field goal, he told you he was done with Jake.
You were going to have to put a knife to his neck to get him to kick a field goal there. They ended up kicking a field goal on that drive because the knife went to his neck and the offense completely stalled out. And it was like, there is no alternative. Like we have to kick the field goal here. And we all just close our eyes and grit our teeth and hope it goes through. It barely did. And it's unconscionable. It's just such roster malpractice. And it's very reminiscent of the Farhan Zaidi Giants era, in my opinion, where at the end he's just gaslighting us. He's just being like, no, actually, these guys are good, and you're the idiots. And it's like, okay, the second you start gaslighting, frankly, is the second you got to go. Because there is obviously nuance and interpretation and subjectivity in all of this, as we've been talking about. But to tell me that the guy who has made 12 of his last 21 field goal attempts is a good NFL kicker is laughable. It's laughable. And it's not like he had a great preseason. He missed a chip shot against the Raiders, and then he just ran off a couple ones late in a no-stress scenario. I know, he kicked a game-winning field goal. There is no less stressful of a scenario than the fourth quarter of a preseason football game. I don't care if the game is on. Get the fuck out of here. The game's on the line? What game? What was the score? Did the Niners win or lose? Like, who cares? Who cares?
And also, it was in a dome kick. It was a dome kick for an outside kicker.
Laughable.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't work. I feel bad. I feel bad for Jake Moody. I'm hammering him. I wrote a column at the end of the preseason saying, like, if they keep this guy, it says that the 49ers front office is more interested in their ego than winning football games. And it took one game for that to prove fully prescient, laughably prescient. And if they continue this charade any further, I'm going to have to view John and Kyle in a very strongly, very different light, because it is, at this point, it's like a bit. It's a bit.
Well, let me ask you this. What's going on? Tell me the truth. What do you think's going on there?
We
don't know, so just guess. I mean,
yeah.
Is Jed's? Do you think there's
no.
some battle royale where there was some side of the personnel department that said, "Hey, man, we're not taking a kicker in the third round," and they said, "Yes, we are," and that's it. And so they're dangling in front of the. I mean, the way they have dealt with this, you would swear that this Jake Moody decision means more than just who the kicker is.
Oh, it
has some relevance or import that we're unaware of, and Kyle's a little bit more stubborn than John typically, but John has been even more stubborn. He's insisted that there was a good competition. From what I've seen, every kicker that has come into the Niners building over the last 2 years, every kicker is an upgrade on Jake Moody.
I mean,
Anders
that or
Carlson,
he's even. Yeah.
Upgrade. Matthew Wright.
He was
upgrade.
better. He was better.
Joseph this summer. Upgrade.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any kicker where I thought, well, Moody's better than that guy. I haven't.
The problem with Moody is that actually when you see him at practice, you're like, oh, fuck, that looks different, right? It's kind of like going out on the driving range and watching somebody, just bomb them. I mean, I'm lucky enough to get up on the driving range at the golf tournaments, and it's like, wow, they're playing a different sport, right? And Jake Moody, when he does kick the ball at practice, you're like, ooh, that sounds different. It kind of looks different. But
you don't judge kickers by the guy who hits it the longest.
That's right.
You judge kickers by who hits it through the uprights the most often.
You don't win golf tournaments on the driving range, Larry.
Right.
And so,
come on.
I mean, it would be cool. I mean, it's awesome at Topgolf, and I'm sure that and again, this isn't to say that Jake Moody will forever be a bad kicker, but this is the 49ers holding on to a mistake, right? This is the definition of the sunk cost fallacy. They thought they were getting one over on everybody in the league. I got that on good authority. They're like, hey, this guy, every kicker is the highest scoring player on his team. And we're just going to lock our guy down for the next 10 years. We're going to get Jake Moody, and we're going to have the most reliable, but also, long distance kicker. We're gonna laugh in the face of everybody who says this is a bad pick because this is our guy, and they just are unwilling to admit that they got it wrong, and they're putting this kid deeper and deeper in a hole. They think they're helping him by standing up for him and backing him up. They need to let him go so that he can be whatever it is he can be somewhere else. Because, again, he's never going to do it here. The context is too heavy. And this is a kid who doesn't, it's not a mechanical issue. It's a mental issue. And the pressure is too much for him. He can't get it done. He looks healthy to me. His kicks, he's not there mentally. And they think that will just flip over. It's not. And I think another aspect of this, and the reason why this thing has continued on, is I don't think they want to go through the trouble. I don't think they want to go through the trouble because they know what they think that the ceiling of Moody
of
getting somebody else who's going to probably be.
Well, that's what Kawakami said. Kawakami was like, yeah, Kyle doesn't want to have to go find another kicker. Well,
they don't want to have to learn a new name, or Kyle doesn't even watch kicker tryouts. I guess he'd have to now because we called him out on it. Like, he doesn't want to have to deal with that shit. That's time that he could be taking to game plan. Like, legitimately, that's what he would say. Like, that's time that I could be taking to put together the game plan where every minute of every day leading up to Wednesday is taken up by that concept. You can never do enough, but he doesn't want to waste a second on a Monday or a Tuesday thinking about who the new kicker is. But here's a wild concept. Just bear with me here for a second. Didn't you just hire a fucking special teams coordinator that was supposed to handle all this shit? Didn't you just hire somebody at a pretty nice clip, by the way, so that you could outsource all of these decisions? How about you let him do his job? And if you ask Brant Boyer, I'll bet dollars to cents that he'll say, we're bringing somebody else in. I'll handle it. Let me have this job. Please delegate this responsibility to me. But because it's so contextually fraught for the 49ers front office, they're like, it's not good. It can get better, though, because he's really talented. Oh, he's so talented. They keep talking about how talented he is. That's really manifesting. I mean, we're going to watch a year. This is my hot take for the 2025 NFL season. There are going to be 10 60-yard field goals this year. There have been 40 in the history of the NFL leading into this year. There are going to be 10 this year because of the changes to the K-ball and the general progression of kickers over the last few years. We already have one on the board, and there were a bunch that were like 59s on Sunday, Friday, Thursday. He's not that level of talented. Right? He's not somebody who's going to knock one in from 70 if given the opportunity. That's not his leg. He's not Brandon Aubrey, who was sitting on the couch and decided he was going to do this one day. He's not Bates with the Lions, who was literally selling bricks. I mean, it is unbelievable. This is them holding on to their priors and them not wanting to admit they're wrong, on top of the fact of, that seems like a lot of trouble just so that we can bring somebody in who's probably not going to be as good as him. So let's just hope he gets to be whatever he is. Let's just hope that this problem goes away, but it isn't, and it won't, and they need to make the change now. And if that game wasn't evidence enough that the change just needs to be made and you got to bite the bullet and get on with it, then they're never going to do it. They're never going to do it.
Who do you want? Because honestly, I don't know a lot of kickers, but the one kicker that I saw that I really was pretty impressed with was Caden Davis, who was started, I think, at A&M, transferred to Ole Miss, was a highly coveted recruit, I believe.
So
got a
Moody.
pretty big leg. Kicked for Ole Miss last year. I mean, I'd bring him in for a tryout. I don't know, but I mean, it's like find somebody who's just reliable. I don't need the kicker to be. The kicker doesn't have to be. I mean, you can't find a reliable kicker. I mean, it's just like it seems like it didn't. It seem like the guys they got last year when Moody was hurt were pretty reliable.
Wright was better than him, unquestionably. I'm not sure Carlson was but Carlson had the bigger leg.
Yeah, Carlson had a bigger leg. But, I mean, they both made all their field goals.
Yeah, I thought Wright was actually really good. And it was kind of like, why are you bothering? I mean, he got injured, so it kind of, the decision made itself.
He had kind of a light leg as far as, like, he probably didn't.
So did Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
It doesn't matter if you make the goddamn field goals. Like, that's again, where we come back to Kyle's temperament on this whole thing, which is just put him through the uprights. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice the distance, as he was for Robbie Gould, if you just put it through the damn uprights every time, if I can trust you. You don't have to hit it 330 yards off the tee. Go to 290, which is apparently a moderate distance in this day and age of golf, but put it in the fairway every time. Like, I can live with that. And they thought that they were getting the best of both worlds with Moody, and they're getting neither of them right now. And I think that they'll end up going with somebody who is a bit more accurate as opposed to somebody who's got a bigger leg. But again, it comes back to this.
Wasn't there some good kickers cut? Wasn't
Dustin
Hopkins cut? Where's Tyler Bass? I thought
he's injured. He's
injured. Okay.
So the best kicker on the market, and forgive me, I forget his name. He was at Pitt last year. He's on the Pittsburgh practice squad.
Boswell?
No, Boswell was injured for the preseason, so they let this kid kick in his stead, and then Boswell was able to come back for the regular season. He made a 60-yarder yesterday. But the kid on the Pittsburgh practice squad, I think, is the number one option. By the way, you could just call up the Atlanta Falcons right now and say, send us Koo. And you could just trade bad kicker for bad kicker. We go from there.
Somebody suggested that earlier today. I actually don't see a kicker on their practice squad.
Well, he's at the.
There it is. There, no, not safety. It's a safety. I'm not. No, I don't see one. We'll see.
I made him up. He's in my mind.
Boswell's their kicker. They have a guy named Corliss Waitman. Is that it? No,
that would be an incredible kicker name, but no.
Christian Kuntz. No, he's the long snapper.
Oh no, that's hold on. Steelers preseason kicker. I have some text from Kevin. Fascinating. Okay, the name is Andre Schmidt. Oh, he's the one who missed a bunch of kicks for Cleveland. Okay, we are behind the 8 ball on this one. This is why the Niners don't want to do it, because there's no obvious answer other than, I guess, Greg Joseph. Who
wasn't Dustin Hopkins cut by somebody at the end of the year? And
I think for good reason though.
Okay. Well, I mean,
anyone will do. I would rather play kicker roulette for the rest of the season than have to watch Jake Moody go through existential crises every time he steps on the field. And I don't know how the Niners can't agree with that.
I mean, it's just go find a kicker. Go find a kicker and do it.
And then if they
Sunday.
suck, you cut them, and then find another one, and you just paid a special teams coordinator to let him do his job. Let him try out kickers on Mondays and Tuesdays every week for the rest of the season until you run into somebody the same way that the Cowboys and the Lions did, and now they're set at kicker forever.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been doing this from the draft to the first day of training camp. I would have just said, hey, new special teams coach, we're all going on vacation. You're going to be here between mini camp and training camp. Just bring in as many kickers as you want, get a good one, and get the best one you can find between now and camp. To have a guy who already,
I got the name.
Already lost the fan base. I mean, that's pretty tough.
It's honestly, it's rude. It's like, why are you putting this kid through this? Just do what every other team in the NFL would do. If his name wasn't Jake, if this was Greg Joseph and the same thing happened, they would have cut him already, right? They would have just said, oh, that didn't work out. Is Jake Moody around? The name that you're looking for, I apologize, is Ben Sauls. And that, I mean, the headline writes itself. You better call Sauls.
I don't care who it is. Just get one. Let's talk about Purdy for a second.
Sure.
He's hurt, and we may see Mac Jones this week. Are we going to see Mac Jones? Supposedly it's a toe and a shoulder. It's a left shoulder, not a right shoulder, but it's also a toe, but it's not a turf toe. What do you think?
I mean,
is Purdy going to go?
I got a toe and a shoulder. I'm going to bet he's going to go. Didn't look inhibited. Those two egregious interceptions were not a toe or a shoulder issue. Let's put it that way. So he didn't look inhibited in the game that I watched. But maybe we were watching different games. I'd have to guess that he goes. He's a gamer. He's fought through far worse injuries and played and looked good. So I think that he knows that America cannot be subjected to a Mac Jones Spencer Rattler game, and he's going to do his damnedest to play on Sunday.
Mac Jones potentially against the Saints in week 2 in New Orleans. And Kevin and I will be going to New Orleans. I can't imagine we're going to go to New Orleans to see Mac Jones, but it possibly is there. It possibly could happen. Mac Jones had the worst looking suit I've ever seen. He wore a red suit and he wasn't even playing. It's like, bro, why wouldn't you just wear sweats or something? It's like, you're not even playing. You're going to show up in a suit that looks like you're a villain from Batman. I mean, it was just so goofy. But I still think he could beat the Saints. Though I will say this, sure. I did watch Saints Cardinals on the replay this morning. And, you know, the Saints are bad, right? The Saints are a new organization, new head coach. They make lots of mistakes, all kinds of penalties. They've got problems, but they can rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
They had 5 sacks.
Yeah.
They can hit the quarterback. So, it's like the 49ers. It's like, yeah, should you beat the Saints? Yeah, but the Saints can hit the quarterback. I mean, Cam Jordan is still doing his thing. He looks good. They got a bunch. I think they had 5 sacks and 5 hits on the quarterback or something like that. I mean, it's
a tough place to play too. I mean, no matter. I mean, that team is awful, and there is no reason to be rooting for the Saints. And yet, that building, one, because it's like a classic dome, but two, I mean, Saints fans are just they're off the charts. I mean, they are so loud, and do not give them any reason to cheer, because then you get that stadium pulse thing going up in the corner, right? Like you saw in Seattle, and I hear different reports. I wasn't on the ground, so I can't speak from it. It sounded pretty loud on TV to me. Maybe that's just Fox piping in noise, RCA Dome style, but it did. I mean, there were plenty of plays where communication was difficult on both sides of the ball, and they were in a silent count for a nice portion of the game. And like when you're talking about all these kids, particularly on the defensive end, don't let that crowd get into it. I mean, it's nice that they have a little bit of trial by fire in that regard, but don't think that because you got through that first game and you were able to survive a road environment, first NFL game, speed of the game, all that stuff, that the New Orleans Saints and that Superdome is just going to be a walk in the park. That's a legitimate home field advantage, and the Saints need all they can get in that department. But don't give them any reason to get into the game, because that could backfire really fast.
Juwan Jennings has a shoulder, but it sounds like Shanahan made it seem like he may be able to go. Niners signed Kendrick Bourne to a 1-year, $5 million deal. He, I guess, is recovered from his foot sprain that he had earlier this summer. Was Bourne, who's more likely to play in New Orleans, do you think, Bourne or Jennings?
I should have brought my daughter's stethoscope. I can't even pronounce it.
Stethoscope?
Yeah, she's got the whole doctor kit. She's 2. Should have brought that down. I feel like Dr. Dieter here, which would have made my parents very happy, but ultimately they get this one. Juwan Jennings, much like his shoulder, can't separate, so I think he might play. The Bourne thing, it's a lot of money. I mean, he got $5 million for
$3 million less than Keenan Allen got. I mean,
but Keenan Allen's like a tried and true, right? Keenan Allen was just like, I'm not playing unless I'm playing for the Chargers, where I have a rapport. I've been successful. Like, I had a little strange sojourn out there in Chicago with whatever the hell that was. But I'm back, and he looked like he never missed a beat. Like, he's still Keenan Allen, right? And Kendrick Bourne is not Keenan Allen, never has been, never will be. I'll say this. I mean, They tried Gage in the first half yesterday, and they're like, I guess we got to go with Valdez-Scantling, and neither of those guys should be taking anything but bit snaps in an NFL game. So, come on down.
Kev says turn your gain down a little bit.
Happily.
A little bit.
There we go.
There you go.
The gain is down.
There you go.
I get so hot and bothered about all these medical questions. I don't know. I'll say this. Thank God for Ricky Pearsall. If Ricky Pearsall wasn't the absolute truth, this wide receiver core would be the unquestioned worst in the NFL right now. And I know it gets better in a couple of weeks, but you can't play Sky Moore as a receiver. So effectively he's just Junior Bergen, but seasoned. You're trying out Valdez-Scantling and Gage as your number 2s. Jennings couldn't get an ounce of separation. His one standout play, at least top of mind, was when they decided to blitz everyone and just not come near him, which was a very nice play, don't get me wrong, but not exactly a high level of difficulty for him, was for Brock. If Pearsall wasn't there and making really good moves and looking really solid and beating man coverage and making Reek Woolen look like he should be on the Jake Moody unemployment list, there would be a real serious issue. I mean, it's not a good situation, but it could be a hell of a lot worse. So, I guess here we are talking about Kendrick Bourne or an injured Juwan Jennings. So there is some level of desperation, but this could be dire to the point of you couldn't possibly bet on this team without Ricky Pearsall.
Let's take a quick time out. The 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use the promo code Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions apply. All right. You want to put together a lineup here? We're going to put together a lineup.
Sure.
Excuse me.
We're starting with Brianna Stewart. No.
All right. So, what do we got? We got Commanders, Packers. Is that what?
Yeah. That's a Thursday night game for you.
Is that the Thursday nighter?
Yeah.
So let's look for Parsons. Let's go Parsons. See what Parsons has got.
Mm.
I like Parsons with a sack. He got one yesterday. He barely played. They got a bunch of other guys. He's trying to justify that contract. I'll take the anytime sack, more than a half a sack for Parsons. I like that.
Man, it's hard to sack one Jaden Daniels.
It is.
A little bit different than Jared Goff.
Yeah, but I think Green Bay I think is gonna get the situation that they like in this game. I think Green Bay's, to me, the most impressive team of week 1 was Green Bay.
Yeah, they were awesome.
I like them. So let's go with Deebo Samuel. What do you think of Deebo?
Yeah, I mean, he still looks a step or two slow. They're trying to get him integrated. Lot of volume in week 1. What do we have there? Is that receiving yards specifically? 46?
46 and a half receiving yards. I like the under there.
Yeah, they're going to have to play a lot of man-to-man.
Less than 46.
I would go less than 46 on that one.
Yep, we like that one. All right, let's hit another one here. How about the tight end from
Kraft?
Ertz? How about Ertz?
Okay.
I think Ertz is like a guy they really look for in the red zone.
Yeah.
I like Ertz. I think Ertz might be good for a touchdown, the
More
receiving
than half,
touchdown,
yeah.
more than a half receiving touchdown.
Had one on Sunday. Yeah.
And what do you think? Is there another one that you like in there?
What do we have on Golden? 32.
Matthew Golden, rookie, 32 and a half receiving yards. That's pretty low.
Up we go.
Yeah, more than 32 and a half receiving yards for Matthew Golden.
That's the Matthew Golden breakout game with that secondary.
Okay, so there we go. We got 4, I think, right there. So let's see. We're going to bet 5 on it to win 78-60. Well, I like that.
Hey, now.
So we got Deebo less than 46 and a half receiving yards. Parsons with a sack. 1 will do. Ertz with a touchdown. 1 will do. And Golden with 33 yards or more. And if it wins on our $5, we'll make 78-60. I made $61 today off of my my Monday nighter. So, or we won 61. So there we go. All right. Big thanks to Sleeper. Remember, use the code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms apply. Helps support the show and gets you rolling on the #1 sports app, Sleeper. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. Christian McCaffrey's workload. Let's get into that for a second. Shanahan was asked about it today, and it's like he never sounds. Nobody sounds less like a head coach than Kyle Shanahan talking about Christian McCaffrey.
It's like a fanboy.
He doesn't sound like he's the boss. He sounds like Christian's the boss. He's like, he's a real hard guy to get off the field. You're the coach.
Yeah.
Get him off the field. They used him it's just there's a right and wrong way to use these guys. And it's not about W's. It's about longevity. Do you want Christian McCaffrey to be healthy in the playoffs? If you do, then split the reps, split the heavy lifting. Stop putting it all on Christian. He had over a 3-1 touch advantage on Robinson, and Garendo didn't touch it at all, and yet was active. It's like, do you want to get to the postseason with a healthy Christian, or do you just want Christian to be happy when he's in there and out by Halloween? He is not going to make it to November. at this rate.
No, yeah.
Right? I would be shocked.
He barely made it to this game.
I don't know if he'll make it to October.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it if they keep utilizing him this way. And when Shanahan's asked about it, you would swear that he has about as much pull as like one of the vendors at Levi's. He's like, it's a hard guy to get out of there. He's a hard guy to get out of there. You're the coach.
Yeah, well, he is fundamental to the offense. And people go and kind of use that as a tautology and this empty rhetoric. Like, when I say he's fundamental to the offense, yesterday was the perfect example of what I mean. The offense does not function unless you have a player of Christian McCaffrey's aptitude in the game. Because the ethos of a Kyle Shanahan offense, the word we use all the time, is conflict. And putting the defense in conflict and breaking the defense's rules. The rules of a Seattle defense, a Minnesota defense, an Arizona defense, these chaos defenses that use three-man fronts that are spread across 5-6 wide consistently. You don't know who's coming, who's going. The rules of those are they're trying to take away outside zone. So how do you beat a team that goes 5, 6, 7 across the line, blitzes from all directions? Like, how do you beat that team? You get mismatches with players that aren't on the outside. You get mismatches on the inside. Brian Robinson, you're right. Brian Robinson he got more touches than I thought early, and then they faded away from that. Because Brian Robinson can't catch the ball out of the backfield and make somebody miss. Christian McCaffrey can. Now, maybe Garendo can, but they don't trust that he's going to hold on to the ball. Against that offense, the game plan has to be Christian McCaffrey because of the ability to flex him up and then bring him back. And people say, just do that with Juszczyk, but Juszczyk doesn't have the ability to make anybody miss. I mean, it really comes down kind of to kind of an old soccer thought or certainly a basketball thought, which is, can you beat your man? Can you demand a double team based on your ability to take your man repeatedly? And Christian McCaffrey is the only one on the 49ers offense who is in the zone of importance, which is between the tackles, or in this case, the ends, defensive ends, who can make somebody miss. So he has to be the everything. So when Kyle says, I can't really take him off the field, it's because they don't have any option to move the football unless he's out there, because he breaks the defense's rules. Now, that will change against the Saints, who don't operate on that premise. But you have two coaches in your division who were hired because they can stop Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, or at least tactically they should match up with Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. And by the way, Robert Salah doing a lot of the same stuff that those guys were doing because they're going up against Clint Kubiak. And how do you make it? You have to have somebody, be it Debo, who can flex from the wide receiver position into the backfield, therefore putting you in an advantageous situation to run the ball, or Christian McCaffrey, who can flex from the backfield to the line of scrimmage, putting you in an advantageous situation against a heavier personnel to pass the ball, giving you that one-on-one beat. And Brian Robinson doesn't do that. And Isaac Garendo maybe could do that, but they just simply do not trust him. And I'm fascinated to see where it goes from here, because he was the first, the last, the everything, and it was kind of foolish on my part to think that they weren't going to play him. And it looked like early on he was just kind of being used as a decoy, but that was their entire game plan. Like, if his calf exploded, they were going to have to go down with the ship. And you saw the inverse of that with Seattle. I mean, Kenneth Walker couldn't make anyone miss one-on-one. They had the same game plan. Get the ball out in space to a running back. So now he's going up against defensive backs, and Kenneth Walker couldn't get shit. And the Seahawks offense suffered and really couldn't move the ball as a result. Meanwhile, the 49ers had Christian McCaffrey. They're doing the same stuff, and the Niners are able to move the ball with general aplomb. So I know that Kyle, yes, Kyle can do the usage different, and I think he will do it differently this week, because you can play Brian Robinson more in the same way that you could have played a Jordan Mason more last year against the Saints defense, and there will be many other games like this. But in that game against that defense, it's Christian or bust, and that's what we saw.
I mean, it's like, he's going to be just a September player. He's going to be a September, October player. I mean, he's like, it's like, you could have any excuse that you want for why you don't spread out the touches, but you're going to have plenty of time to run Brian Robinson because that's all you're going to have.
I mean, but like, who else is demanding? They got Pearsall the ball 4 times. The entire, secondary is shaded his way. Like, Jennings couldn't separate. Marquez Valdez, Scanling, and Gage, I mean, useless as receivers. Decent enough blockers, but useless as receivers. Kittle was the guy, right? He's someone who can he's a mismatch. He's someone who can make guys miss one-on-one. So it was going to be Kittle and McCaffrey, and now you can get it on both sides. But the second Kittle goes down, you only have one of those guys. So it's not to, again, exonerate Kyle for not finding effective manners in which to attack the Seattle defense and maybe add a little bit more. But it was clear that the entire game plan, which they've been thinking about for more than a month now at the minimum, was Christian, because that's what the defense of Seattle demanded. That's how you break their rules. And then you hit them with some Kittle on the side. The second Kittle went out, it was like, oh boy, if Christian McCaffrey comes up gimp, I mean, this game's over. And I remind everyone, look at what Seattle was doing. They had the exact same game plan. They just didn't have as good of a player. It's going to be a problem, but, just looking at the schedule, Jack, in division, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey because the Rams do a lot of cover 6, cover 8 stuff, and they know the 5-man across the line rule. But in general, the defenses that they play, just off the top of my head, aren't going to demand this level of specificity from the game plan. They'll be able to mix it up more. But it is on the other players to prove that they're worthy of the touches. And frankly, there was only one other guy who was on the field late in the game who was worthy of a touch. His name was Ricky Pearsall. He had the play that broke open that drive. I mean, they threw the game-winning touchdown to Jake Tonjes. So it's not exactly like the talent for the 49ers is so overflowing. How can you not spread the ball around? You got 2 good guys, and you're holding on for dear life on your offensive line because Trent looked like shit, and your interior's getting pushed over, and McKivitz is alternating good drives and bad drives, and you're looking for anything. That is such a tough defense to play. It sucks that you use up so many of the bullets in McCaffrey's chamber early, but you got to get the W somehow. So I can kind of see why Kyle feels like a victim in this scenario. He doesn't have a roster that he can trust anyone else to do anything close to what Christian McCaffrey was doing the second that Kittle went out of the game.
Then maybe they shouldn't have traded for that guy, but you know what? They did trade for him, and I would suggest they use him because if they don't use him, they're going to be using him only. And if obviously they don't like him that much, why'd they trade for him?
Well,
because he's a starting caliber running back. You better use him. You better use him.
He's a totally different player, though. Larry. Like you saw what he is. I mean, he's a between the tackles runner. They're
all different players. I mean, they're all different.
But
every one of those backs they have is a totally different player.
You don't have any sort of a facsimile for a Christian McCaffrey, right? You just don't. The same way you don't have any sort of a facsimile for a George Kittle. They're 2-way guys, right? In basketball, what's the number one? You want 2-way wings. Well, these are 2-way players. These are guys who help you in the pass game and the run game. Obviously with Kittle and the blocking, and then obviously as a receiver, and then McCaffrey, it goes without saying. You don't have any of those 2-way guys. You have a lot of 1-way guys. And when you're going up against a defense that's versatile and aggressive, you need 2-way guys. You need to win one-on-one battles with a roster that, frankly, doesn't have enough of them. It used to have a ton of them. It doesn't have enough of them anymore. They're going to ride McCaffrey until the wheels come off, and sadly, those wheels might come off way sooner than they certainly did in 23. And I guess they came off before it even started in 24. Like this is the nature of the beast. It's on Kyle to find effective, prudent ways to use that kind of power that Brian Robinson brings. But the script of that game and that defensive scheme that they run and the personnel on that Seattle defense, that was always going to be a tall order. And when you don't have Kittle to maybe take away some of that onus from McCaffrey, I mean, you're squandering drives if you're out there with Robinson, Pearsall, and Gage. I mean, you're screwed from the jump.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, figure it out. Figure it out. Yeah. Because you're going to lose if you don't have McCaffrey and you can't run him into the ground, and that's exactly what they want to do. The utilization of their back stinks. I mean, they don't use Garendo at all. They didn't use Robinson much, and they use Christian, and supposedly Christian's not even 100%. Well, if he's not 100%, why are you using him so much?
Because you don't have it. Because you don't want to lose the game.
Yeah,
and at a certain point, it comes down to the Machiavellian, like, just you have to win the games.
Week 1 game against Seattle, and you have to overuse Christian McCaffrey.
So it's a win the battle, perhaps lose the war situation. To be sure.
I mean, it's just your chances of going to the Super Bowl are going to go way, way down if you can't.
But it's never been about the Super Bowl. It's always about 26, Larry. So you might as well kill Christian McCaffrey in the process. He's a sacrificial lamb.
It's just unbelievable. It's like you're running this guy into the ground again. Yeah. I mean, it's like unbelievable. What did you think of week 1? Give me a takeaway. Did you like anything stand out to you in week 1?
Yeah, I think this is the year for big boy football again. I think this is the way that the defenses were hitting, and I know that some of the box scores show that. I mean, listen, there's some bad defenses out there. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of heavy personnel from what I saw, and I haven't been through everything yet, but from the glances that I saw, a lot of heavy personnel, a lot of kind of back to basics run game stuff. I think this is just the year of the full grown man in big boy football. And that gets me excited. Like defenses might have a little bit of an upper hand with a lot of the stuff that McDonald's doing, with a lot of stuff that Jonathan Gannon's doing. We obviously know they come from the Vic Fangio system. There's a lot of really good defensive coordinators. There's a lot of really good athletes on the defensive side that are being more allowed to use that versatility that they have, that athleticism that they had. And I mean, the highlight of the week before whatever happened on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football might have been Jalen Ramsey, who's a full-grown man, just absolutely destroying that receiver. I forget what, I guess it would have been from the Jets, just absolutely wrecking him into the next century. I don't think we're having a throwback time, but I do think that it is going to be about who is bigger, who is stronger, who is faster, and that's some big boy football, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm into. This era of little scat guys just doing speed stuff. Ask the Miami Dolphins how that shit's working. I think we're back to power and speed, but mostly power. Great
First week for the rookies. A lot of good rookies. Highest graded rookies in week 1. Tyler Warren, who's on my fantasy team.
He was awesome.
He's not just the best tight end. He's like immediately like a big play part of their offense. And I thought Daniel Jones looked really good week 1.
He did.
Carson Schlesinger, Armand Membu, my guy
incredible.
Shamar Stewart, and Jihad Campbell were the 5 highest graded rookies. And you know what? The Niners could have had Jihad Campbell. The Niners could have had Shamar Stewart. The Niners could have had Tyler Warren. And they went with McKell instead. Yeah. A lot of people battled about Shamar versus McKell versus Shamar.
It's a good thing that's over now.
At least PFF believes Shamar at least had the better week, 88.9%. He had 3 pressures.
I'm sure he did. You couldn't pay me to watch the Cleveland Browns. I guess you will November 30th, but clearly not at the top of my queue. But I'll watch it. I'll watch the Shamar Stewart snaps because apparently we got to play the hits here.
Well, I mean, that to me stood out, that Stewart is playing really, really well. Now, a lot of people were like, hey, man, he didn't sack anybody, and he didn't sack anybody. But he does have crazy traits.
Oh, yeah, he's got some real pop. He really, I mean, he explodes off the line. Yeah, he's
got traits, and he's got power, and he's right now, he looks pretty damn good. I'll tell you the other thing that stood out to me is I think Trent Williams is at the end.
It's done.
I mean, I think this is it.
That was brutal.
I think
that was an awful game.
The McKivitz signing, I think, is partially about McKivitz, but I think it's partially about this is it for Trent, and they don't want to have to replace 2 tackles in the same offseason. So you sign McKivitz, even though you don't maybe super love McKivitz. I guess they actually do, but maybe the fans don't.
They know the going rate on the tackle, man. I mean,
they
got off easy for 15.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great.
It already gone up to 18, 19, 20 for guys who are like Colton McKivitz level or worse. I mean, his backup got $15 million to be a backup. So, yeah, you take Colton McKivitz at 15 and consider yourself lucky. Yeah, so to me, what stood out, one, I thought Daniel Jones looked really good. I mean, 22 of 29, 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. They scored on their first 7 offensive possessions. I mean, they scored on all 7. It's the first time since the 70s someone's done that. It's amazing. I mean, to me, that's an amazing thing. Maybe the Giants were just really that bad. I always thought Daniel Jones was terrible, but you know what? He looked good yesterday. Good highlights for sure.
Trent Williams, as I said, looks like this is it. The other things that really stood out to me,
quickly on Trent. I mean,
Yeah.
if anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, it's Trent Williams. So
I
I'll
think
give
he's
it to
rusty,
him.
maybe just rusty.
I'll give it to him on this. This guy hasn't played real football since like November of last year. So,
but eventually it's going to end. I mean, Father Time's undefeated. I mean,
no,
not,
this could very well be the game that we point to and say, "Oh, we saw it coming." But it could also be a game that you forget about in 3 weeks because he's Trent Williams. Like it was. If we're just going to judge it on its merits, it was awful. He was really bad on Sunday, and that's something that I've never said about Trent Williams. So that's a big red flag. But yeah, I mean, if anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, it's Trent Williams. And if he doesn't have it, you just go down with the ship because that offensive line, some things that might have been said on this show are going to look really dumb if you go back and check the Dieter tape on that one. This offensive line is shambolic if Trent Williams isn't Trent Williams. And he didn't look like Trent Williams on Sunday.
Well, I mean, and we take no glee in saying it. I mean, It's just a matter of maybe he's rusty or maybe this is it. But I just got to think that McKivitz signing has something to do with that.
No, that's a fair point.
One team that looks better than I thought and another team that I think is going to have a rough year.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati looks good to me. Now, granted, it was about Cleveland. They beat Cleveland in Cleveland, and Cleveland should have won that game if they just make a couple kicks. Right. So you could say that. But I just like the combination of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I love this backup running back they have, Taj Brooks. Yeah. I think their offensive line is improved. And now they've got Al Golden away from Notre Dame to be the defensive coordinator. And I just really liked what I saw from Cincinnati's defense. So to me, if Cincinnati has a defense and they can get better as the year goes on, with the offense that they have and the weapons that they have, they are going to be a force in the playoffs. So I just think Cincinnati to me looks good. And the team that doesn't look good is Detroit. It just doesn't add up. It does not add up. Detroit lost Frank Ragnow to retirement. He's maybe the best center in the game. He's definitely among them.
Oh, yeah.
They lost Kevin Zeitler
that was
free
huge.
agency, and Zeitler's a tough-ass brawler, real tough offensive guard. And they averaged in week 1 against Green Bay 2.1 yards per carry. And I was looking at, and they don't have a backup quarterback really for Goff. And Goff is
Teddy
never
Bridgewater?
really. No, I think it's Brandon Allen, isn't it? I don't know.
Oh, Jesus. It might be. No, Teddy Bridgewater's in Tampa. You're right. It's Brandon Allen.
Is it Brandon Allen?
It is.
Woof. Yeah, I mean, but how about this? Goff over the past 4 years has led the NFL in QBR when unpressured.
Yeah.
But he's 28th in that same period of time when pressured. Mm-hmm. And now you have no Ragnow. You couldn't run it well, even though you still have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Right. No Ragnow, no Zeitler. You've got pressure potentially in Goff's face. He's absolutely the last quarterback in the league that can handle pressure in his face.
Yeah.
And I just think that he's probably going to suffer some kind of an injury. We're going to be at the end of this year, we're going to be talking about, did the Lions miss their Super Bowl window altogether? They were coming. And then I think we're going to look back and go, it never happened.
That's what she said. But it is, I didn't pick them to make the playoffs. I mean, don't let this Detroit Red Wings hat fool you. It's just because I have a giant head and they don't make hats my size, so I had to pick something. I did not. They were talking about this openly in Detroit, that they're like, we might have missed our window. I heard another team talking like that. They were the San Francisco 49ers of 2024. I mean, they were just kind of, we might have missed our window there. It's like, yeah. Then what you do is you try to build a new window out of 19 rookies over the last 2 years, right? And you hold down the fort until they get ready to do whatever it is they're going to do. And we'll find out over the course of this year if those rookies are good enough and those young players are good enough to create a new foundation for success. But listen, Ben Johnson didn't exactly cover himself in glory in today's game with the Bears, but to lose both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, to lose their quarterbacks coach, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Jets, who look good on offense, and you have Dan Campbell as your head coach, who is, master motivator. Everyone loves Dan Campbell, But the knock on him coming in was like, tactically, does this guy even know anything? Like, he give you some rah-rah, but you need to have some brains behind the brawn here.
Some people say that he is actually very, very, involved in their scheme, and that he's
I think
more of an X's and
we
O's,
always, we're trying to toss him up as a
painted.
Jim Tom Sully, some meathead or anything. Like, that's totally unfair. People that I know who know him are like, he's a very cerebral guy and all this stuff. But at a certain, is he NFL caliber cerebral? Like, is he good enough to keep up in a division that has Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson, and Matt LaFleur? Like, the fuck up out of here. Like, those guys are as good as it gets when we're talking about offensive coordinators. And I mean, defensive coordinators, you're dealing with Brian Flores, Dennis Allen, and forgive me, the former Boston College coach, Jeff Hafley.
Jeff Hafley.
Jeff Hafley. And those are three of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. That's some serious brains you're going up against week in and week out. You can't bite a kneecap off and think that that's going to get the job done. And, I mean, it was so uninspiring. It didn't look like the pass game or the run game meshed at all. And this is going to be the reckoning for everyone who's been saying that Penei Sewell is like the best tackle in the game. Like, I've always found that totally laughable. He had a really good rookie year, don't get me wrong, but Zeitler was the guy on that offensive line. I can't get enough of his tape. I went down a rabbit hole a couple weeks back.
Tough.
I threw on some Detroit tape, and I'm like, this dude is Ragnow his reputation preceded him. He was really, really good. But Zeitler's like, oh my God, you got Dan Skipper and Penei Sewell, who they can't even move to the left side. They can't even have him on the blind side. Like, the hell up out of here. The highlights were really cool when he was young, and now there's going to be a lot of highlights put up against him. The reckoning's coming for Detroit. They absolutely missed their window. Aiden Hutchinson could have 24 sacks, and I still don't trust that defense. And think about Goff in his career progression. He starts off with Jeff Fisher, and he's the worst quarterback anyone had ever seen. I mean, he was statistically the worst rookie quarterback ever by some metrics. And then Sean McVay gets him, and now suddenly they're going to the Super Bowl. And then they go, well, we can't win with this guy. So they trade him to Detroit, and he gets Ben Johnson, and everything, after a year looks hunky-dory. And now we're going back to a Jeff Fisher style. I know that I'm impugning the character of what I'm sure are some decent enough coaches in Detroit. But you're not replacing. I mean, Aaron Glenn made chicken salad out of chicken shit last year with that defense and all the injuries that they had. And Ben Johnson's as good of a schematic offensive coordinator as there is in the league. And there's just no way you overcome that when you don't have – it's one thing if you're a Kyle Shanahan or a Sean McVay and you have – your coach is getting poached year after year after year because you're still the main brain. And then this is a very – I know that I just said it's big boy football, but this is a very cerebral game still now, right? You can't just line up in base and run through people and expect to win.
The thing about the Lions that was so dynamic that nobody ever talked about was their play calling in the red zone was spectacular.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And they had the dudes. They had the dudes, to be fair, and they still have some of those. They had the greatest
line. They had great weapons. They had a trigger man who knew the offense.
Smart.
They had everything in place, and now they've chipped away key offensive linemen, key coordinators, and they're not doing it. There's no way. There's no way Detroit is going to be a Super Bowl team this year. I'd be shocked.
And they were a bit of a paper tiger to begin with, right? Like, the Niners played like absolute crap in the first half of that NFC Championship game and still won. And they didn't particularly play great in the second half either, but the Lions choked that one away in a wide-open NFC that year. And then last year, they got absolutely run off the field in embarrassing fashion in the semifinals. And it's like, this was never a force to be reckoned with team. They were always sort of the flashy team that was going to come in, and maybe this would be it never felt like they had the gravitas to really compete for a title, even though they came sort of close that one time. And now you've lost a lot of the stuff that made those teams as good as they were. And I just don't think you can reasonably replace it. I mean, you look at what Philadelphia did with all their coordinator shifts over the years. They always had the best roster, and they still fell prey a couple of years back to just not having the right dudes. They fired all their coordinators halfway through a year. I think it was like 3/4 through the year during a bye week in a season that they ended up going to the playoffs because they had such great dudes. Like coordinators are coaching matters. I mean,
They got rid of Desai. They got rid of the other guy too. Yeah, no, I remember.
Like Niners fans know this. I mean, shit.
The Niners were the ones who
Salah.
rocked. Yeah, the Niners were the ones who rocked the Eagles' world. They didn't recover from that loss in Philly. The Niners handed them.
That was a great game.
It is time for our Claw-Daddy Arcades mention, because follow them on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. And when you stop by, tell them Larry Krueger sent you. They got brand new arcade locations opening in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall this year. And Claw-Daddy Arcades is paying for Kev and I to go to New Orleans, at which we will be leaving on Friday and staying until Tuesday there at the Big Easy. Why don't I, since we're talking Claw-Daddy in New Orleans, and thank you, Claw-Daddy, for sponsoring the Krug Show.
Yeah. Give
me a quick thought on the Saints. Saints lost to Arizona 20-13. Rattler put up 46 passes. He also ran 4 times. They allowed Arizona to run for 5-4 a carry, so maybe the Niners can run with some success. New Orleans has a brand new head coach, Kellen Moore. They had 13 penalties in the game. They didn't. They did produce 5 sacks, 7 TFLs, and 5 quarterback hits. Cam Jordan had 1.5 of those sacks and 2 TFLs. He's in his 15th season. What do you think? Do you got a thought on Niners Saints looking ahead to week 2?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the Saints as a tenth as interesting as Seattle was going into week 1, or a tenth as interesting as Arizona was. What you see is what you get. There's not anything heavier going on. They just don't have the dudes. I mean, this is a roster that is paying the price for pushing the can forward year after year after year when it came to the salary cap. And at some point the bill was going to come due, and it's come due. I mean, they are woefully deficient at many spots across this team, and there's only so much you can do with Spencer Rattler as your quarterback, with that offensive line in its current state, and with the secondary like that. And linebacker situations, like Demario Davis is an incredible player, but like at some point the bill comes due there too. The Niners have no excuse not to win this game, but given what I think I know about the San Francisco 49ers in 2025, that means it's going to be way more interesting than it needs to be. If I had to make a guess right now before getting into the tape heavily, I would say that most weekends in New Orleans, you might have come out victorious, but you're not going to feel good about
it. It is time for our Habas Law portion of the show. They will fight to make it right.
What do they not sponsor?
Habas Law, 1-800-INJURED. Today's show is sponsored by Habas Law. And for more than 40 years, Omar Habas and his son Tarek have been standing up for people right here in Northern California, in the Bay Area. They're fierce. They're relentless attorneys. They don't back down until justice is done. When you're injured, insurance companies will try to dodge you and not pay you. And they know the playbook. Habas Law makes sure they pay attention and that they pay up, because they know the playbook, because they've been battling these insurance companies for decades and beating them. So if you need someone in your corner, call the firm the insurance companies hope you do not call, and that's Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit their website, habaslaw.com. And Dieter, the Habas Law segment here, we're going to ask the question as, who in your mind was the most impressive team in week 1 in the NFL? Now that we saw, started way back on Thursday of last week. We had Thursday football, Friday football, Sunday football, Monday football tonight, wrapping up week 1. Who is the most impressive team? Was it Buffalo beating Baltimore coming from behind? Was it the Chargers finally vanquished the Chiefs and Herbert looked good? Was it the Packers and Parsons? Was it the Eagles who beat Dallas without Jalen Carter? Was it the Rams? Was it the Niners? Who was the most impressive team of week 1 in your mind?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers, because Buffalo, what Buffalo did offensively and Josh Allen, that side of the ball was never really in question, even though you're learning a lot of the names of those guys every year. You go to another Buffalo as a Super Bowl contender, you're like, and who is their second wide receiver again? Oh, okay. They found another white guy to play tight end that looks exactly like the 2 other white guys. He caught a touchdown, or at least had one down to the 1 in that game. Josh Allen is just he's the dude. Legitimately, I thought Baltimore was really impressive just up until the point where they weren't. But what the Chargers did bodes very well. And we don't want to read too far into week one because it's still somewhat of an extended preseason. But the way that Greg Roman called that game showed a tremendous amount of faith in Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert repaid that faith tenfold with the way that he performed in that contest. If my main reservation consistently, and I had this with the Ravens and I had this with the Chargers when Harbaugh was hired, is that Greg Roman is too stubborn, too tied to a scheme that is badass, without question, but not terribly modern. And it was awesome when you have Lamar Jackson running that or Colin Kaepernick running that, but you need to be a bit more with the times when you have a quarterback who is generationally is a strong word, but certainly correct in the correct era to play football in Justin Herbert with his ability to run and extend plays with his feet, but also just that rocket of an arm he has. And for the Chargers to throw when they should have been running and run when they should have thrown is like the opposite of what I expect from Greg Roman. To see that in a big game, obviously in strange circumstances with it being in Brazil on a Friday night, but for that to show up in week one bodes very well because I think it gives them the upper hand in pretty much every game moving forward tactically on the offensive side. And that defense, man, it pops. I mean, it really does. I know that they don't have all the dudes, and there's going to be some real questions about depth as the season goes on. But man, if Derwin James stays healthy, if that linebacker core stays healthy, they got a shot to really smack some teams in the mouth. And I like where these Chargers are at. Again, try not to overreact to week one. Teams are easing into it. A lot of teams don't even bother practicing going into week one and are just figuring it out on the fly. But that Chargers performance was so impressive. I kind of want to just say that they're going to win the division now, which is something that we haven't been able to say for nearly a decade, that someone else is going to win that division. It feels like it's the Chargers to lose after 1 week. That is that's a pretty big change for your boy.
It's a complete football team. I mean, they're good on special teams. They got a good defense. I think what's really jumped out to me is that between McConkey and then Keenan Allen on this team and the TCU kid.
Yeah, Quentin
Johnston. They've got three receivers there that really are quite a bit better than what they had last year.
And they'll throw it to him now, apparently.
Then they also have Amarion Hampton. They've got Amarion Hampton, who's a big, powerful, talented back. They also have, a good offensive line. I mean, if they hadn't lost Rashawn Slater, I think they were going to – I was looking at them as kind of one of the real overpowering type teams. Now – it's slightly muted because of that, but still, I still like the Chargers to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I really think they're the team this year. I'll say this, though. I like Green Bay. The fact that they beat Detroit and held a Detroit team to 46 yards rushing. And this is a team that just traded Kenny Clark away. So, I mean, you trade away one of the great forces on the inside to Dallas to get Micah Parsons, and you still shut down Detroit's rushing attack. I was very impressed by Green Bay. I would say Green Bay and the Chargers were the two teams that impressed me.
And not only that with the Green Bay rushing defense, but they also just destroyed the swing pass. I mean, they were all over. They were firing downhill. And there will be teams, I think, as the season progresses that are able to exploit that aggressiveness. But Detroit, who you would think, just going off of, the last couple of years, would have been one of those teams that could have easily done it. They just stood no chance against it. Having Parsons there changes the entire tenor of that defense because it gives that secondary, which was a huge question mark coming into the season and will remain a huge question mark because of just where their talent level is. It just gives them that boost to know that they can play as aggressive as they want to. They don't have to be conservative. Their linebackers are dudes now. Those linebackers are some mean sons of bitches. And that defensive line, I know Kenny Clark was a solid enough player. Don't look at his PFF grades if we're talking about him being a force. He's been pretty awful for the last couple of years. But Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons is sneakily up there as one of the best duos on the end in the league. And this defense can now just tee off because they know that they can get to the quarterback, and it just changes everything. We've seen that firsthand in the Bay Area. Like that, if you can get home with 4, your entire defense plays 1, 2, 4, 5 levels above where it probably should be with its talent level. And there's plenty of talent still to be had on other spots on that team, particularly at linebacker.
Let's hit the supers and then we'll bolt for the door. We've got Lander Film who says, are we going to see 21 personnel once Brian Robinson gets more acquainted with the playbook? Did you see any 21 personnel in practices?
21 being both of these guys in the backfield at the same time, I presume.
Well, I don't know. I don't think he means that. You talking about two? I think a 2 halfback look. Or are you talking about a halfback fullback with Robinson there as the halfback and Juice as the fullback? I haven't seen. I'll say this: I have not seen a backfield tandem that includes Robinson and CMC together yet. Not in practice,
and you won't. You just won't. I wrote a whole column about it for the Merc. You won't. There have been. I should have that just readily available. 15 plays in the history of Kyle Shanahan that have featured 2 running backs in the backfield at the same time. Not a single Jordan Mason CMC.
Who was it?
Together.
Was it Wilson and Mostert or something? Or what?
No, it was actually, and it was pretty interesting. This would have been the game to do it, frankly. It was CMC and Elijah Mitchell in the backfield together, and they did that against Minnesota in 23, and they actually, it was a fairly successful operation. They had done it one time the season before at the end of 22. They had run it in the red zone once where McCaffrey came around and opened up a seam for Mitchell to run through. But it's so dependent on having somebody that you can trust to throw the swing pass to that's not Christian McCaffrey. And for some reason, they really actually kind of like throwing it to Elijah Mitchell if you can get him on the perimeter. It's just not Brian Robinson's game. And in fact, I made a couple calls on this. Like, it's probably the reason why Brian Robinson got traded by the Commanders is that they just, and you watch back his film from last year when they moved him around the formation. I mean, he's just lost as a receiver. He is a classic north-south running back. He's a good one at that. Powerful. He had a really nice run where he got about 5 extra yards off of contact. But this is not a sort of modern move him around chess piece running back at all. And it just doesn't work if you don't have that threat because the defense just can key in on McCaffrey. And it's kind of it's a decoy that doesn't go anywhere if you try Robinson and McCaffrey in the backfield. It would have been the game that you do it at is the games where you're not having safeties on the field. And Minnesota, Arizona has 3 safeties, so it's kind of the inverse, but Seattle did a lot of no safety looks. Cover zero's the set you want to use it against. This was the heaviest cover zero team in the NFC last year in Seattle, and they didn't even consider putting it on the field. So I would say don't expect Brian Robinson and Christian McCaffrey on the field at the same time.
No.
I don't have it charted, but I remember Robinson being in mostly single backfields when he was on the field. So I don't think there's any reason to think that they couldn't go to a 21 with Juice as a lead blocker with Brian Robinson. That'd be some big boy football. That would also probably require you to be in actually more like 22 personnel, which they can't really do now because George Kittle's out.
And that's the thing too. You may see it on the goal line. That's probably the only area you may see it. Yeah. King Leonard says if Brock sits this week and the O-line plays like how they did yesterday, we could see an Adrian Martinez legacy game. We got this one from well-paid Dion in cash.
We paid Dion in cash. He's a friend of the program.
We paid Dion in cash. Larry has a high motor. I envy that. Like 4 streams per day, then flying to New Orleans to cover that game, I'd be toast.
Larry, I'll give you a piece of advice here because you'll be in the press box for the game, I presume.
Yes. I'm bringing Kev. Kev's coming.
Yeah, well, pack a coat and a stocking cap. Because they put you, I'm telling you, they put you right under the air conditioning vents for the entire stadium in that press box.
I've heard that actually. And it's warm. Really probably the sweatiest time of year to go to New Orleans.
I'm not half kidding. Bring a coat and a stocking cap. You will not regret it.
I might have to bring a cap. Titus Moeller, Watkins is the 49er I'm most excited about this year, and I'm thrilled to hear your optimism about him, Larry. Do you think he debuts this weekend? I don't think he debuts this weekend, But I do think that when he does debut, all this talk about these other guys like Gage and Chosen and all these guys, I think people are just, once you see Watkins do his thing, those other guys are just going to be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because he's got size, he's got speed, he's got strength, he's polished, he played in a big time conference. He showed it in camp. Purdy loves to go down the field, and he loves to go down the field to anybody who separates, and this guy does both. So Purdy's gonna love this guy. I think he's gonna make some of these other guys. All this talk about Bourne, you're not gonna be talking about Bourne once Watkins gets out there, and not in my opinion at least.
No, I'm with you. Not a lot of stuff leaks out of 49, but the optimism about Watkins and his ability to see the game and his smarts and stuff, which is kind of a prerequisite to getting on the field, that leaked out. Like, that's pretty high praise if it's hitting the group text. So, they're really bullish on him. And it's a really interesting proposition as well, because that he'll play X receiver and hold down that spot in all likelihood until Brandon Ayuk comes back, and then give Brandon Ayuk a little bit of time to ease into it. And that allows Pearsall to move around the formation a lot more than we saw in week 1. And that's a really enticing proposition because Pearsall's a dude.
Well, I think Watkins is a keeper. I think once he gets rolling and really gets in rhythm, people are going to be like, wow. Andrew Bogert says, why was Nick Martin inactive? I thought he'd play. He doesn't have a special teams role. And, I've said this a bunch of times this summer, and you never would have believed it based on what we saw in week 1. But the Niners have prioritized improving special teams this year, and having Robinson active over Martin is just another step in that direction. And it just, it could have burned him if they had lost Fred, because Martin would have been needed in that scenario and he wouldn't have been available. But I do think you'll see Martin, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's inactive for 2 or 3 more weeks.
I mean, fundamentally, he was never going to play from scrimmage on the basis of the Niners wanted to do a 5-man front, right? Outside zone offensive system for Seattle. And in that, and we saw, they did a lot of 5-man front in this game. I think I had 15 snaps with 5 or 6 or a 7-man front. A lot of that was Fred in the A or the B gap, but they would also do a 4-3 over, which is the foundation of Robert Salah, Gus Bradley cover 3 defense, right? The 4-3 over, where the strong side linebacker is lining up at the edge and giving your defensive line some width to seal the outside against outside zones. So Martin, with his size, and he's a tenacious little shit. Like, I mean that in the most positive way. Like, he's a tenacious player, but they were going to lean towards Gifford and his actual stature 10 times out of 10 in that particular game. In a game where you can just go 4-man and you don't have to be as creative and trying to get as wide on the defensive line, Martin could absolutely be an asset, because D. Winters had an immense game, and D. Winters and Nick Martin's game are a lot more similar than I think most people want to put together. So if you can, there will be times where Nick Martin can play strong side linebacker for this team this season. That was not one of those games.
Titus Moeller says Mason equals great tonight. How does B. Robinson compare? They're different. I mean, I think Mason has a little bit more change of direction, a little bit more, keeps those legs churning, where I do think Robinson is probably a better receiver than Mason. And I think Robinson is probably overall a more trustworthy player than Mason. Mason's a very young player at this point. But Mason, 15 carries, 68 yards, 4-5 a carry. He had a 19-yard run. I think he's a little bit more top-end speed than Robinson. I think he's got a little bit more cutting ability. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen them keep Mason and go for Robinson, but you know what? There's only so much money to spend on this thing. And Mason needed a change of scenery, but I don't know. I think they're similar. I mean, it was a great deal for the Niners. The Niners turned Mason into Seagull and Robinson. So if they could make that move over and over and over again, they would, because you got 2 for 1 and you got a nice little safety there. So I think the Niners
better
did a
than
nice
that.
little spin to, I didn't want to get rid of Mason,
No.
but they felt he needed a change of scenery and he
They
wasn't a
weren't going to
great
pay him.
fit.
They weren't going to
They
pay him
weren't
what he
going to
wanted.
pay him, but I mean, I think he also just didn't want to be here anymore. I mean, it was really more about the money, but he needed a change of scenery.
I mean, there's also the tactical element to it all, right? Like they didn't want to use him in the pass game. They didn't trust him in the pass game, so he wasn't a reasonable facsimile for Christian McCaffrey. So why are you paying him middle class running back money to not be someone who can stand in if McCaffrey's injured? Like he can do his own thing, which he's very good at. And the same thing, Brian Robinson can do his own thing, which he's very good at. But Brian Robinson came on the cheap. Barely cost you anything in terms of draft capital, and the Commanders kept almost $2 million of his salary to get rid of him, which is weird. But kind of when you look into it, you go, okay, well, they wanted to get out ahead of this thing.
Well, I mean, I understood it. I understood it
Yeah.
once I met him. And here's why. They wanted to go with Krosky, Merritt, and Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And Brian Robinson has that kind of personality where he was going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And he's a powerful presence and he's a veteran. And
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted a powerful veteran presence pissed off in the middle of the room when they're trying to bring Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt along. I thought they saw more upside in a cheaper guy. They saved some money. I mean,
Yeah.
And also I think they just felt like Robinson wasn't going to be happy. And some guys, it doesn't matter, but some guys it really matters.
Yeah.
And I can see why it matters. I don't think that Brian Robinson, I mean, he's saying all the right things now, but if the Niners continued every single week to use Christian this way, Robinson would have a problem with that. I'm pretty sure. My guess is
in the same way Mason did, but Robinson carries a bit more of a punch. He's, as you
right.
said,
And
he's a heavier personality.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to go for it.
Mason was kind of soft-spoken.
Mason was soft-spoken. I think Mason also, when he said the wrong thing last year about when he was told he was going to play and this and that, and it just
he got a little skittish.
I think he just got a little pissed off at the Niners, and I don't think he always, he admitted that he wasn't the most mature guy in his early days with Bobby T, but I think last year, when he said that he was told a few days earlier that he was going to start, and obviously the team got mad about that. Then he's like, I'm trying to do the right thing, and now you guys are mad at me. I just feel like he emotionally shut it down after that and needed a change of scenery. So he got one, and I'm sure he'll be good. James Foster, Moody's made big playoff kicks. He's a high draft pick. Kickers can go through rough streaks. And what happens when his replacement is missing kicks?
Do the same thing you do to him. You cut him.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I think that's really as simple as that. Martin Hansen says, Larry, I'm 37, barely remember the 94 Super Bowl win. All I have known is losses in the biggest of games. Please tell me Kyle, John, and Jed will get it done. It's a great question. I think they can get it done. I think Brock Purdy can get it done. But it's going to take them investing in the offensive line. And it's probably not going to happen this year. It's probably going to be something more along the lines of the next 3 or 4 years. But I do think the Niners are going to get theirs. I do think Purdy's good enough to get them theirs. But it's going to take another year. They had a good draft last year. I think they had a good volume draft this year. They're going to have to find a great player. I mean, that's the whole thing with the Mikel Shamar thing, is that I don't even really care about either of these guys, really. I just want to see the 49ers draft a great player. And I don't want to see a good player. I want to see a great player. I don't think you win when you have good players. I mean, why did the Lions get really close? Because they kept drafting, Gibbs and Branch and Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson. They're drafting great players. And then eventually they got really, really close. Well, that's what it's going to take for the Niners. They've got a great slew of veteran players. They need 3 or 4 more great young players. Mm-hmm. And once they have that, I think they're going to knock on the door and knock it down. But not until then. We got this one. One sportsman, like, I don't remember the last time Kyle went on 4th and we saw multiples week 1. Moody's turning Shanahan into a riverboat gambler, one shank at a time. Yeah, exactly. exactly. You want
Nailed it.
Kyle to go for it on fourth down. Just give him Jake Moody, and he'll go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
And Niner Goat says, Krug, don't let Dieter distract you from Shamar Stewart being the number 1 ranked defensive lineman week 1. Come on. We'll be battling about this for a long time.
Yep.
Dieter, tell people if they have yet to follow the Dieter and Hutch extravaganza, how they can do it, and when you guys put stuff out there and what they're getting if they follow you.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen at Dieter Hutch on YouTube. It'll take you right to it. We're doing shows after games. We're doing shows Tuesdays, Thursdays. The Thursday breakdowns are big. We're doing members-only shows, film breakdowns during the week. And if you're a member of the channel, which is you're throwing a couple shekels our way, you get a lot of sweet perks. You get those members-only videos. We did a 37-minute video breaking down Nick Martin's preseason, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great. We have a preseason guide that would have you ready for this entire season, all the X's and O's, all the opinions and stats and anything that you could want to get ready for the season, which is now already started, was available to you as a member. Our draft guide came as part of membership. So we're doing 3, sometimes 4 streams a week. We got the weekly and bi-weekly video breakdowns, and then, of course, all the great written content. So at Dieter Hutch on YouTube, and become a sicko with us.
Sounds good. Tommy Black with the last super says, Kyle should stay out of personnel. Now Kyle needs to be looking at kickers. Which one is it? Well, I've not wavered on this at all. There's a big, big difference between being an awesome play caller, an awesome play sequencer, and a personnel evaluator. They're totally different skill sets. Personnel, you couldn't take, Ron Wolf and make him an offensive coordinator. You couldn't take the greatest personnel guys, Jim Finks or whatever. You couldn't take Jim Finks and say, hey, Jim, I want you to be, sequence all these plays and design all these plays. He couldn't do it. Why? Does he not know football? No, he does know football. He's one of the greatest personnel guys of all time. He built the 85 Bears. But it's a different skill set. And I would say the same thing to Kyle about, Kyle may have landed like a George Kittle, but he also traded up for Joe Williams and Dante Pettis and Jalen Hurd and C.J. Beathard. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those trade-ups were impulsive Kyle liking some offensive player, and because of his clout within the organization, everybody in the room just deferred to him, and he got his guy. Those picks have failed in huge number, almost across the board. So I would say to Kyle, hey, you're the best play caller there is. Jim Harbaugh is a fake when it comes to his offensive guru status. He's Bo Schembechler meets 2025. He's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Kyle Shanahan is the one who has an offense that actually works and can produce points, and he's produced a top 5 offense. He's gone to the Super Bowl with secondary quarterbacks. This is what he's done. So I personally think that Kyle's a genius as an offensive play caller, genius as a play sequencer, and should stop interfering with the scouts on personnel. If there's some scout in their system that says that this kicker is better than that kicker, go with it. If there was some scout that said go with this guy instead of that guy, go with it. Go with the scouts' opinions on the personnel and defer to Shanahan in season on all of the rest of it. But that's how I feel about it. And when I say Kyle needs to be looking at kickers, or if Dieter said Kyle needs to be looking at kickers, I just think we mean to say is the Niners overall should be looking at kickers. But when I hear Kyle say, hey, the personnel guys are going to tell us, blah, blah, that always makes me feel good, because that usually means that somebody that's in the know is saying, hey, the best guys are this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. So if I was Kyle, I would coach like crazy and let somebody else pick the players.
Kyle has very high standards, right? Because he holds himself to a high standard, because he is as dogged and diligent as anybody, and his game plans are otherworldly, right? And he had a great one this week. Puts in the sweat equity to make him that way, right? He's at the vanguard of that. The thing is, when he finds something that he likes, and we're talking about this earlier with Christian McCaffrey, he'll spam it. He'll just keep going again and again and again. So when you let him scout, he'll find something that he likes, and he'll go for it again and again and again. And just look at the 49ers' third-round draft picks over the years. That's been Kyle's round. Save for Fred Warner. Let me know how that's went.
Look at the Niners' redundancy in the draft where they'll take a running back early. You know that's Kyle's guy. They'll take a running back late. That's the scout's guy. And look what happens. Almost every single time it works out that way. So I'm not saying Kyle doesn't know personnel. I'm just saying there are other guys who know more about it. Lean on them. Just lean on them.
And then there's the fact is, I mean, he got handed full control of a team, and anything that isn't his full control, he's ceded, and he can take that back at any time, like he did with Brandon Ayuk.
What he really needs is he needs a really sharp, young personnel guy that he has absolutely 100% confidence in. Because that's if Kyle Shanahan had a personnel
I've stayed
guy,
available. I don't know why he hasn't called me.
Howie Roseman, is a phenomenal personnel guy. He's not a coach. He's a GM.
Never have him there.
And Sirianni is not a coach, or he's not a GM. He's a coach.
He ain't much of a coach either.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, let everybody do what they do well. And I think you'll be better off for it. All right, that is going to do it for us. We are 2 hours exactly into this live stream. Almost 2,500 people hanging out in the room. Hit like and subscribe on your way out the door. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Habas Law, and thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor. And, of course, Claw Daddy Arcades. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades. And while we're thanking people, I probably also should thank our good friends, Anthony Catania at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They've been with me a long time. 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. The great Anthony Catania is at 831-521-5264. And that's going to do it for us. I'm back with you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I'm going to be sitting in tomorrow for Greg Papa with Greg Silver. So you can catch me on the radio tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on KMBR. The great Raj Melwani will join us tomorrow night for our nighttime live stream. And I'll be doing a Zoom tomorrow with Brianna McDonald from the 49ers, breaking down week one in the 49ers victory over Seattle. So look for that on the 49ers side of things. Tomorrow, late afternoon, we'll tape that. So looking forward to another great day covering the Niners. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you guys. Good stuff, and have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Krug Show. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.